This is going to take all day, and it's going to take several sets of hands working on it. But I think it's all going to be worth it when we see the finished result. Hey, it's Brock here from Rock Hill Farms, or depending on where you are watching this, possibly from Player's Choice Mounds. But today, we're out here to clean up this baseball field. I don't want to sound like the hero here because I'm the one who let it get this bad. But the last few years we've ran a baseball league on this field and we've had it in pretty good shape. This year we were not able to form a league. My son's too old to play here and there's been no interest in maintaining the field. So today we're going to get it cleaned up and then we're going to keep it that way so that next year if there's another group of players that come up, they'll have a field to play on. So as you can see, this is some of the worst area here, which is a bullpen for the home team, and it's completely overgrown, but the whole field is overgrown. Outside the field's overgrown. The infield is all grassed over. It's just gonna be a long process of getting this dealt with. So stick around, let's see what we can get done. Step one was just getting all the grass mowed, which in places was a little taller than you want your yard to get, and in other places you almost needed a bush hog for. All right, so the whole field inside the fence has been mowed once. He's still trying to get the outside of the fence. I think I'm probably gonna have to mow this 3 times to get it to look nice. I'm gonna go down probably 1/4 to 1/2 inch and mow the opposite direction. Because what you can't probably see very well on the camera is that half of this didn't cut, half of it laid down because it was so tall. So now if you mow the opposite direction, it stands it back up and cuts it again. Then I'm gonna take a completely opposite pattern, close the mulching flap, and mow it again. Then we'll move on to the warning track and the dirt. From this lower angle, you can see that even after 2 passes, there's a lot of dead grass. And if you leave that laying on the field, it's going to kill off the grass under it, and it's not going to come back and look the way you want it to. At this point, I started having a couple of the other guys work on cleaning up the bullpens and the batting cages off to the side, which haven't been touched all year. So on each of these bullpens, after running weed eaters across it and getting it all knocked down, we were able to hit it with the push mower. Next we'll move on to the batting cage further down, and that was actually done with the ride-on mower because it has a wider gate, and then they weed eated what was left. This area right here is the batting cage I was talking about, and all of the net is hanging down. I went through 2 years ago and got all this net pulled back up and just secured it with zip ties. Well, I didn't realize that that wasn't going to hold for very long, and it's all sagged back down and needs to be fixed again. But they were able to lift it up and get it out of the way and mow this with one of the stand-on mowers, which worked pretty well. There's actually a few bushes in here that we had to get the pole saw to cut down. As they're doing this, I'm about through mowing the field for the 3rd time, which got rid of all the grass clippings, or 90% of the grass clippings, and actually looks pretty decent, so that the next time we mow it, it'll just be a regular mow. I'm thinking about doing several more videos on more of the maintenance of a baseball field, how to work the dirt, because the way we do it today isn't the normal way to do it. So if you'd be interested in seeing videos on how to maintain a baseball field, put that in the comments, and that'll help me decide how many more to make. Alright, so I've mowed the field 2.5 times. That last pass in the other direction is happening right now, and there's our 4-wheelers. We'll be using those to drag pretty soon. But right now I'm going to start weed eating all of this mess. It's all grown up under the fence. Alright, since we've been maintaining this field, we've been fighting to keep these base paths. But there's a lot of nice fields we've been to that don't even maintain a first base path and a third base path. So we're going to switch to that. Rather than cutting these again, which I've done 4 or 5 times already, and straightening them out, we're going to seed it. We're gonna put some straw down over it so the seed doesn't wash out. And the next time this is played on, that'll make it easier to maintain, because a lot of people prefer the look. So we'll go ahead and get that done real quick. All right, forgot to bring the spreader, the seeder, and for just this little bit, we'll seed it by hand like this. And we're gonna seed it pretty heavy just to make sure. And then we'll take this and just break it up and spread it on the base paths. I got 3 yards still that need mowed. Do that after this. All right, at one point I had this infield looking really nice a couple years ago, actually as late as last year, but right now it's completely grassed over. What I don't want to do is turn all that grass into the infield. We're gonna have to do a little bit of that because I do have a limited amount of time to work on this. But what I'm gonna try right now is cut it as low as I possibly can. Set this mower deck, you know, half an inch off the ground and buzz all this. It's gonna make a dust storm. And then we'll try to work the infield. I've been keeping this field for a few years now, and none of this is standard procedure. It just seemed like kind of the way to accomplish the goal today. Alright, so I cut this as low as I could with the mower, then I used a blower to blow all of the crap out of here, as much of the grass clippings as I could, and get it out. Now normally, next thing I would do is break the dirt up, but I don't want to break the dirt up yet. I want to drag any loose grass out of here first. So I'm going to try to drag whatever I can out with the four-wheelers and a flat drag. Then after I drag out whatever I can, then we'll break it up and then we'll smooth it back out. So we've got a lot of dirt work left, but we're making a lot of progress too. After buzzing that off, I noticed that there's basically two types of vegetation here. There's small single blades of grass that I can't do much about. And then there are ground spreading type of plants that can be pulled in one big clump. Especially once we loosened it up, I was able to grab entire sections and just rip them out at once. All right, so I've already taken 2 handfuls of this out. These are all the holes. We didn't get every bit of it, but we got a lot of this spreading plant out of here. We are going to be tilling in some of this grass, but I want to minimize how much of it we actually till in. So all of this, plus a lot more, we pulled out by hand. Why are we going? Should we take 4-wheeler around so we don't have to back it up or drag it there? Yeah, put it right here and we'll move it and line the 4-wheeler up with it. Then we got to get the weights. I suppose the 4-wheeler's up before the standing out there. Awesome. Backing up. Oh dang, that says John Deere on it. I thought this was homemade. Alright, Brandon, I need the hook off of that rubber mat, the paddling.
Went for a walk with the stars last night. Did not believe that I would end up right. Lucky endings were not something for me. I drove around all across the land. Thought that I was caught in a one-man band, but playing all those sad and lonely songs. My faith was lost, my hope was gone. My dreams were shattered and I was done. I was roaming down the street in my weary feet, and then you came along with the love so strong.
So one result of that I didn't really anticipate is all those crawling vines that I was pulling out by hand earlier. After I drug around it with the spike drag, it stood all those up where we're going to be able to grab them and rip them out again. So we'll make another round of pulling those out by hand. Meanwhile, my son and my son-in-law are over here filling up the weed sprayer so we can spray all this fence line and get everything that we haven't weed eated, get that all killed off with the spray.
So how does this work? Do we need that to hook up to a battery or something?
The battery on the 4-wheeler. You hook this to the 4-wheeler battery, which is under the seat.
Okay.
And then you just drive and spray.
Okay.
If you're watching this and can't believe that this field isn't maintained better, keep in mind that a lot of times these local rec league fields have no budget and very limited volunteers. Everything that you see here is my own personal equipment, and the help that I have is paid help out of my pocket. This would have been so much faster with the tiller on the back of the tractor, but there was just so much vegetation on ground level, I didn't want to till it all in. Stand this up, Gabe. Yeah. Stand it up. This way, so that all this stuff will fall out. We probably spent 2 hours dragging the field, alternating between the spike drag and the flat drag. For quite a while we had both out there, so we'll skip towards the end of the dragging. This was my first time ever pulling this drag with the four-wheelers, and I didn't realize that a four-wheeler doesn't have the turning radius to make figure eights up at the home plate area. So I was only able to get the outside ring of it without pulling the drag out into the grass. So we ended up doing that center part near home plate with the cultivator attachment on the combi system weed eater. So after thoroughly dragging the field, the dirt was as loose as it needed to be, but there were a bunch of loose grass clippings and debris all over the infield. So we raked all that up and put it in a wheelbarrow, put it in the very back corner next to the building to compost down. And at that point, all that was left was basically to smooth out the remaining dirt. So it turns out I didn't record the final scene that showed the finished result of this, but while it's not quite at the standard I'd like to have it at when we were playing games out here, overall I feel really happy with what we were able to accomplish today, and I think with just a little bit of routine maintenance we can keep this field in good shape now. The only other thing I didn't get shown in the video was spraying the infield dirt with weed killer and watering the grass seed that we put on the base paths. I appreciate you guys taking time to watch the video. In just a minute you'll see links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.